He's also been great throughout the playoffs, and I think you see his value on both ends of the floor. You know, one of the things that really stood out last night was his aggression in getting into the paint. The team that has scored the most points in the paint has won every game in this series. Last night, Andrew Wiggins scored 20 points in the paint. He was 10 for 13 in the paint, and it was getting downhill, drive-aways on the pick and roll, taking Al Horford off the dribble. You know, all the stuff that we knocked him for in Minnesota, the shot profile, long twos. He's cut that largely out of his game. He shoots spot threes, and he gets to the rim.
You know, Amari, Wiggins reminds me of Iguodala in a way, in that these are both very high draft picks who were kind of miscast as primary leading scorers on teams. And we had a certain, or at least I did and others, a certain feeling about them. Maybe they're not exactly panning out. Then you wind up, both of them wind up on the Warriors, right? Yep. And Wiggins is kind of doing, as JJ says now, what Iguodala was doing in 15, 16. And because he's cast right and he's got the right situation, all of a sudden, my feeling about him anyway is very different. How do you see Wiggins in this latest Golden State Finals team?
I like what he's doing, man. You know, one thing about Wiggins is we saw his progression, right? His first pick in the draft, then he get drafted, to Cleveland, then he moves over to Minnesota, and then now he's in Golden State. And there was some, skepticism about, okay, what kind of player is he? Is it over for him? Can he be an all-star? Then he comes into Golden State, becomes an all-star. Then takes somewhat of a back seat when Clay returns, and then he finds his rhythm again now in the postseason. And to see him really being able to show his talents on both ends, on the defensive end and the offensive end, he's crashing the boards, he's scoring when needed. He's, like Jay was saying, he's the second best player right now on that team in the finals.
Yeah, if you're like the third or fourth best player on a dynastic team, and sometimes you're the second and sometimes you're the best player, and you make 3 or 4 all-star games and win a couple championships, we think of you as a great player, right? I wasn't thinking of Wiggins as a great player, but he's doing great things right now. JJ, did the Celtics lose the series last night?
we still got a lot of basketball to play, and they've already shown that they can come back in a series being down 3-2. I do have some major concerns about their offense. It looks anemic at times. It looks stagnant. And the turnovers really have told the story of this series, specifically the live ball turnovers. They've had, I think, 18 more live ball turnovers than the Warriors. That has led to 24 more points.
Unforced errors.
That to me has been, obviously Steph shooting and Wiggins play last night, but that to me has been the unsung difference in this series has been the turnovers.
Is that because they're young? Is that because the stage is too big?
No, I just think it comes down to decision making. Their offense is predicated on a lot of line your guy up and take him off the dribble, and at times they're driving into traffic without a plan. That leads to turnover. They're not recognizing the double teams, and they're making bad passes. I talked about it after game 1. You go to that fourth quarter when they hit 9 threes. Every single pass was on time, on target. They have yet to replicate that in a game in this series.
To me, as I say, that's always the best indicator if a guy's going to hit a shot or not. On time, on target pass. He's going to hit that. Amari, what's your biggest problem with the Celtics last night?
I agree with Jay, the turnovers, man. I mean, you have to control the turnover game, right? Because if 18 turnovers in a game, you're not going to win it. And so and the thing about turnovers is you're not prepared for those traps. You're not prepared for the court being shrunk. So if you're watching film and you're dedicating your time to learn the game of basketball, then now you know where these traps are coming from. So if I'm in the post-up position and the trap comes from the top of the key, I'm going to spin baseline knowing these guys are coming from the top to get my shot off on the baseline. And in the finals, you have to be prepared for any type of situation that may be presented to you. And when the Golden State Warriors shrink the court, and you have a guy in your passing lane, right? So you attack him with a dribble and make the simple pass. Fundamental basketball is called penetration kick. Make the simple pass on target and make the open shot. These guys, they're not doing that, and that's why these turnovers are catching up with them.
JJ, okay, I'm going to take a second pass at a kind of broad narrative about the stage of the finals. Jason Tatum was sensational. Like, you could see him, that's KD. I'm going to defend him, and I'm going to score on him, right? And they get past Brooklyn. Not to reduce it to Tatum versus KD, but those things did happen. That's Giannis. I'm going to do the same thing. That's Jimmy Butler. He got here playing superstar basketball. Now that he's here, there's no matchup for him quite on the other side like that. It's true, but he isn't playing anything but superstar basketball. So let me ask again, is it because the stage is different? He has it in his mind, these are the finals? How does a guy go from playing that way until now to now this?
Well, I can't be in his mind, Max. I can't be in his mind. I'll be honest, I hate that narrative. Like, this is a professional basketball player who's made first-team All-NBA and has stepped up in big moments time and time again. As a rookie, was the stage too big going against LeBron James in the conference finals? No, he played great that series. This is about the Warriors' defense. That you have to give them a lot of credit. And I also don't buy the narrative that he's been awful this series. Like, he's averaging 23, 7, and 7. His two-point shooting is awful. He's shooting 48, I think, from the three. There's 4 guys in NBA history who've averaged 23, 7, and 7 in their first finals appearance. And he's 24 years old. Like, I'm not saying he gets a pass for not being able to make a two-point shot consistently, but he has done a lot of good things on the basketball court. The real struggle for him, Max, has been in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That's where he has really struggled.
Oh, so you mean to tell me you hate the narrative, but the struggle as a 24-year-old, no struggles until the fourth quarter of the finals?
That has nothing to do with the stage. That has to do with the Warriors' defense, Max. All the things we're talking about. I just broke down 60 plays for detail later today. Okay?
Very good.
I watched every single Tatum possession. It has to do with the Warriors' defense. It has nothing to do with the stage. It has to do with Wiggins. It has to do with Draymond. Anytime he got a switch with Curry, Gary Payton II would come over as the secondary defender before he even got off the ball and went into his move. Like, that is the Warriors' defense.
Great offense.
Yeah, he's got to be better passing the ball.
Okay, but that's part of the offense, right? And isn't that partly age and stage?
It's just
basketball.
It's just basketball.
So if they played that same
it's
defense,
just basketball.
So if they play that same defense on him in a regular season game, you believe the result will be the same? He wouldn't make the right pass.
This is part of a player's growth that happens, and we've seen this time and time again
not
with great players.
So it's